Welcome to today's Explainer. Look, today we are jumping right into a totally fascinating concept that is going to fundamentally shift how you view ownership, consumption, and basically every daily choice you make. We're going to be using some strict economic metaphors here, essentially looking at your entire life like a grand balance sheet. So get ready to completely rethink what you own and actually, perhaps more importantly, what owns you.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to literally just pause right now and ask yourself, what desires and requirements are good to have but not essential in life? Take a quick mental inventory for a second. Think about your physical surroundings, your daily routine, maybe even your mental state. Just look at the clutter. How much of what surrounds you daily is truly essential, and how much is just, well, kind of just there? We accumulate so much over the years without a second thought, usually just assuming that more is always better.
So that brings us to part one, the baggage we carry.
Before we can even begin to optimize our lives, we really have to recognize the hidden burdens we just sort of naturally accumulate over time. Let me ask you directly, just as our source material does, what is the baggage you are carrying? And I don't just mean your old winter coats taking up closet space or those electronics you literally never use. I mean the mental baggage too. The commitments you completely dread going to, the habits that drain you, the identities you force yourself to maintain just for the sake of other people. Right now, what is sitting on your shoulders acting as a heavy burden and simply not helping you move forward?
To really understand this baggage, we need to look at a brilliant concept called carrying cost. Now, in the business world, a carrying cost is the literal expense of holding on to inventory in a warehouse. But applied to your life, it's a total game changer. It's defined as the ongoing burden of belongings and identity that you carry, which are not helping you. The source material emphasizes that every single physical item we buy, and actually every psychological identity we take on, acts as this continuous taxing burden. You see, you don't just pay for an object once at the cash register. You pay to store it, you pay to clean it, to maintain it, to insure it, and to worry about it. You carry its cost indefinitely.
Moving right along to part two, the 4 life currencies.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. To really grasp the massive weight of these carrying costs, we have to look at the true price we pay to maintain all this baggage. And spoiler alert, it is not just about the dollars sitting in your checking account. Whenever we consume something, we are draining 4 distinct, equally important life currencies: time, money, physical energy, and mental energy. Think about it. If you buy a complex new piece of tech, for example, it takes money to purchase, sure, but it also takes time to learn how to use it, physical energy to set the whole thing up, and mental energy to troubleshoot it when it inevitably breaks. We are constantly bleeding these 4 resources just to maintain the non-essentials in our lives.
So this requires a massive mindset shift. Consumption is an investment. Our source material challenges us to drastically reframe our everyday actions. When you click add to cart online or say agree to a new totally unnecessary social obligation, you aren't just spending a little spare cash or a lazy Saturday afternoon. You are making a serious binding investment of your finite life currencies. You're putting your precious time and energy into an asset, and as an investor, well, you need to expect something in return.
All right, part 3, calculating your personal ROI.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because it's time to learn how to audit your own life decisions with the ruthless efficiency of an accountant staring down a spreadsheet. This framework applies to absolutely every single choice we make. Here's the micro-narrative of a daily decision. Step 1, you desire or consume something. Step 2, you immediately start paying that ongoing carrying cost in time, money, and energy. Step 3, and this is the critical part we almost always skip, assess the ROI. Are you getting an appropriate positive return on your investment? Let's say you buy a bicycle and ride it every day to get fit and clear your mind. Well, the ROI is overwhelmingly positive. But if it just sits in your garage gathering dust while you feel guilty every single time you look at it, the ROI is severely negative. Every single decision demands we check for an appropriate positive return. We have to constantly diligently balance these 2 columns. On the left side, we have our carrying costs, all that time, money, and energy leaking out to maintain our baggage and identities. And on the right side, we have our revenue and savings, our actual available reserves of those exact same 4 currencies. The rule derived from the source is simple but incredibly profound. Ensure that your carrying costs do not outrun your revenue and savings. Look, if your mental energy is entirely consumed by maintaining a social identity that doesn't actually serve you, you are operating at a massive psychological deficit. You're basically bankrupting your own well-being.
Which brings us to our final section. Part 4, the ultimate bottom line.
Now, let's zoom out a bit. Let's shift our focus to the really expansive, empowering side of this equation. Because if we are going to cut out the baggage and aggressively reduce our carrying costs, what are we actually making room for? Well, these are your ultimate assets: respect, autonomy, and freedom. When you strip away the non-essential baggage, the physical clutter, and those burdensome identities, these are the golden reserves you are left with. Think about the stark contrast here. Society often tells us to obsess over cars, clothes, and status, right? Things with massive carrying costs that ruthlessly drain our four currencies and keep us perpetually on a treadmill of maintenance. But true wealth, according to the economics of essential living, is measured by how much respect you hold for yourself, the total autonomy you have over your daily choices, and your unencumbered freedom.
So the crucial point is your respect, autonomy, and freedom are more important than the things that you own. This captures the entire philosophical weight of everything we've discussed today. Prioritizing human freedom over physical belongings is absolutely the ultimate strategy for a profitable, fulfilling life. You cannot buy freedom with things. In fact, the more things you own, the more your freedom is what pays the carrying cost.
Which leads us to our final provocative question for today. Are your possessions costing you your freedom? I really want you to let that thought sink in long after we finish here. Look around your home, take a hard look at your calendar, and look at your obligations one more time. Is the life you've built serving you, or are you serving it? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I genuinely hope this economic framework empowers you to balance your life's books, cut those carrying costs, and finally invest in what truly matters. Stay focused and keep learning.